But are we leading the world in some of those core elements like math and science and reading?
No, we're not even close. So just so everyone's aware, as far as the education system goes, the United States actually ranks 25th amongst all developed nations when it comes to education in reading, math, and science combined. We just declined for the 5th year in a row when it comes to our university institutions on a worldwide ranking scale. It was the 5th year that we declined. And we've created a system where we're just cycling students through the system. And that's become one of the biggest problems because we see what's happening. I mean, we are the wealthiest nation. We're the sole superpower of the world, at least for now. How long do you think that's going to be going forward if we don't fix this problem? And what really is mind-boggling to me, and I can't seem to get a grasp on it, is why don't we speak about it as much as we should be speaking? This should be one of the top issues within the country, and yet most people remain silent about it.
Well, we've been doing some research on this, and here at Dr. Phil, I have what's called a brain room. We have some researchers that do nothing but research. We do deep dives into the literature when we're looking for specifics. And as of midnight last night, of 79 countries, the U.S. ranked 13th in reading, 18th in science, and 37th in math.
Correct.
That's shockingly bad.
It is.
And that's disturbing.
Well, if you look at every empire that ever exists, they all led in education and innovation at the time. And as we're collapsing, you see countries like China that are rising when it comes to these stats. And we spend more. We spend $1.3 trillion a year on education. That's 7-8 times more than Germany, which is the second country that spends the most money on education. So we're putting all this money in. Where's the return on investment? It's not like we're producing a bunch of little Einsteins out there. And that's part of something that we have to look at. So we have the collapse of the education system, changes in the family unit, and then changes in the mindset of students themselves that have really created problems.
And what kind of changes in student mindsets are you talking about?
Well, I mean, as a professor, why should I have to compete with a smartphone for my students' attention? Why? And this is college level. So it's 10 times worse when you go through the K through 12 level where there's disrespect at the teachers on a day in, day out basis. And, can't take away the phones. If you take away the phones, then parents call, they get upset and fights start breaking out.
You actually feel hostility from your students.
Yeah, there's been a few occasions where students get violent. And honestly, it's not that uncommon anymore, especially in our grade levels. Middle school and up. The fact that they think that they can do it and get away with it is what's scary.
Well, they can.
Yeah, and they do.
Because if you call the parents, they're not particularly responsive.
It wasn't my kid who did it. That's not my kid. They would never do that. And it's like, well, I just watched it happen. So the denial is real. Or it goes to the other extreme where the parents don't care.
The public education system is supposed to be about social efficiency, civic obligation and responsibility, character, and discipline. We've eliminated all three. And then people wonder why it's all collapsed. It's because we went from where we were and we've created this system where it's just about, the subject material. And we're not even going to really teach them the subject material. We're going to dumb it down for them. Seniors, 12th graders are reading at a 7th grade level, just so everyone's aware. And we've deviated far from where the system's supposed to be. And that's part of our problem. Teachers need to be able to discipline the students. They're either not going to discipline them at all, or they're going to give the student like out-of-school suspension where they get to go home and play on their video games. Why not just give them a toothbrush and say, you got to scrub every toilet bowl in this school?
No, but that's corporal punishment.
It's corporal punishment.
That's
You're not allowed to do that.
We're not allowed to do that.
But maybe that would make personal responsibility and students actually think about their actions before they do something.
Yeah, welcome again to Willy Docu Stories. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And for my new subscribers, thank you. And those who already subscribed to my channel, thank you for your support. I won't take it for granted. Thank you very much. And without wasting much time, my friends, and I want us to dive into the topic, America feels broken. And can it be fixed? Right? Something feels off in America right now, and you don't have to be a politician to feel it. It is in the headlines, it is in the street, it is in everyday's conversation. People aren't just divided, they're exhausted, they're frustrated, and asking a question no one seems to know how to answer it. What happened to us? I mean, what happened to America? This isn't the America we used to know. We have got rising prices, falling trust, and neighbors who don't talk to each other anymore. The left blames the right blames the left, and the rest of us, we're stuck in the middle watching a country that once stood together slowly tear itself apart. Everyone's hungry. This isn't a secret anymore. Everyone is very, very angry. But no one knows where to aim it anymore. So, here's the real question. Is America actually broken or just lost? And can it be fixed? I repeat the question of today. Is America actually broken or just lost, and can it be fixed? In this we are digging deeper than the news cycle. We're talking about where things started to fall apart, why people feel so disconnected, and what it's really going to take to move forward, if that is even possible. So folks, sit down, relax, and enjoy.
Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that America needs democratic reform. The current system is broken. Too many politicians fall victim to a system that promotes greed and inaction and fails to incentivize change. We must get money out of politics, and that starts with overturning the Supreme Court's Citizens United ruling. Because of Citizens United, virtually unlimited sums of money from corporations and billionaires now flows into American elections. I will continue to follow the path of other progressive leaders and only accept grassroots donations throughout my campaign. If elected, I also pledge to serve no more than 5 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. We also need to depoliticize the Supreme Court by requiring a 2/3 Senate majority to confirm justices. I will also propose legislation to expand the Supreme Court to 15 seats and impose term limits. Additionally, I support the idea of nonpartisan redistricting committees to draw congressional districts fairly and logically. Right now, many Americans believe their vote doesn't count, especially if they live in a deep blue or deep red district. So let's get rid of that. Elected officials serve their constituents, not the other way around. We must do all we can to make Americans feel like they have a say in this democracy. The Trump administration drafted legislation to restrict voting rights in future elections. Additionally, the Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act over the last 2 decades. Congress must take action to protect our democracy by passing legislation like the Freedom to Vote Act. It's time to reform our democracy, and it's time to put people first.
The way empires rise is also the way they fall. America rose by colonial settler violence and expansion, and Israel is just a microcosm of that. They rose by belligerence and brutality and genocide, and this is exactly what's bringing them down now. Yes, it is violent. Yes, it is savage. Yes, it is criminal and horrific, and it's incredibly painful. But it's like water draining out from a pool. It moves faster and more violently at the bottom of the vortex until it disappears. What we're seeing now, in my opinion, is the dying spiral of American empire, and Israel is the drain that it's going down.
Do you know that you could spend the next 20 years in a federal slammer plus $5 million in fines for doing what senators and representatives get away with doing every day? I'll tell you about it, but first, we'll know that you think what we're doing is useful if you follow, comment, and share with your friends. So please do all of the above. Okay. Maybe you've heard of something called insider trading. That's when you buy or sell a company's stock because you're getting secret information from a friend about what's going on inside the company or the marketplace. That's illegal for you, but not for them. They get plenty of inside information and they make millions profiting from it. America the Possible will provide you with the nonpartisan facts about how America really works so that you can lean on the people you elected to man up and do the right thing. Knowledge is power, and together we can make America better by making Americans smarter.
We lost the war in Vietnam, we lost the war in Afghanistan, we lost the war in Iraq, and we're in the process of losing it in Ukraine. Hint, What is that about? These are not just wars the United States lost, but let's be clear. The United States, one of the richest countries in the world, went to war in countries that are among the poorest in the world and were defeated. It's over. We are not the center of the world economy the way we were. Every country in the world is rethinking its strategy. Political, economic, military, ideological. Every company in the world that has any international business is trying to figure out.
If you're ever feeling useless, just remember it took the US 4 presidents, trillions of dollars, thousands of lives, and 20 years to replace the Taliban with the Taliban.
Amra, you were saying you were a U.S. Marine?
I'm a Marine, proud to serve, baby.
How long did you serve?
To 2005.
What do you have to say about President Trump sending
It's
National
not
Guard?
right, bro. You know what I mean? This country and this state runs with immigrants. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm a son of parents that came from Mexico. You know what I mean? It's not right. It's not right. You could take the criminals away. But you want to take hardworking people for, man. That's not cool. Not cool, bro.
Yeah, welcome back again to Really Docu Stories, and I hope you have watched those videos, and it's very sad, very, very sad. Let's start with what most of us already know. Something in America has shifted, and not in a good way. Trust in the government is at record lows. Conversation turn into arguments. Elections don't settle debates. They just ignite new ones. And maybe the scariest part is we have gotten used to it. So how did we get here? Some say it started as a politics. Divisions stoked by party lines, sensational media, and the rise of echo chambers. Others point to economics. Decades of growing inequality, disappearing jobs, and the feeling that the system only works for the top. For many, it's cultural. A deep divide between rural and urban values, race and identity, progress and tradition. Then comes the internet. Social media turned opinions into algorithms. Facts become optional. Outrage become currency. And suddenly, people weren't disagreeing, they were dehumanizing each other. Now, every issue feels like a war. Masks, books, flags, pronouns, even basic history. Everything is politicized. And behind it all, a growing number of America who feel powerless, unheard, and left behind. Some America feels very, very powerless, unheard, and left behind. So, can America be fixed? Here's the truth. Not easily, not quickly, and definitely not by one party, not by one president, or one election. Real change takes a conversation, compromise, and the kind of honesty we haven't had in a long time. Trust me. It takes people who are willing to ask hard questions, sit with uncomfortable truth, and stop seeing each other as enemies. It takes all of us, because if we don't fix this, the division won't just be political, it will be permanent. And deep down, most of us won't be the same again. Most of us want the same thing: stability, safety, and a future we can believe in. That's what most of us want. Stability, safety, and a future we can believe in. So, maybe America isn't broken. Maybe it's just bruised a little bit and waiting for someone to care enough to help it heal. Right? Let me know what you think in the comments. Is the system beyond repair, Or do you still believe we can come back for this?